Ashe Seraphine, which would be such a problematic duo to deal with.
And I also feel like if you're looking at FlyQuest, you're looking at a team who has not had strong early games so far, so you're probably not as worried about allowing that Jinx the time to scale up and really become a powerhouse, as we're still waiting
Seraphine mid
to see the last pick here for FlyQuest.
Are they going to move it to Seraphine mid? That's the question. Because this obviously is a champion that you can flex around, and it is. So it's Seraphine mid for quad, so they keep the option open here with the Seraphine. My immediate expectation was definitely that it was going to Busio, that they're playing for dominant 2v2. But when you see what Gen.G is showing you in the draft, I think it's such a smart adaptation, because Gen.G, going with the Leona, going with the Jinx, they can just lane swap and avoid that dominant 2v2. Seraphine is not going to be very useful in this dive situation that you set up in that spot. So just pick Alistar, move Seraphine to mid, and avoid that problem altogether.
I would say that Gen.G's composition, very tried and true to Gen.G. This is something that we've already seen a bunch from the Worlds, the priority on the Rumble, strong team fighting. Chovy has something he can side lane on and has agency. Peyz can be that reliable late game carry. They've got transitions from early to mid to late, which just kind of covers all of their bases, and it's a well-rounded comp.
Trajectory from amateur to academy to pro play, now playing on the quarters final stage against what myself and many other people would consider the best team in the world.
I mean, this is such a great opportunity for FlyQuest to try to make something special happen here. Massu has been incredible, and his trajectory has been pretty amazing to see. You said it, amateur into academy last year, won most valuable prospect, the MVP award in the NACL. This year comes in the LCS. He's rookie of the year. He goes to MSI. He goes to Worlds. He wins Summer Split. You can't really do more than that. You can't ask for more than that. And Bwipo here is going to get his ward cleared out, so Kiin will have that little bit of an experience advantage.
All right, Bwipo not getting jumped on there. And a reminder, before the action kicks off, log into your Riot account on lolesports.com and watch Worlds live to earn exclusive Worlds emotes, icons, and capsules, as FlyQuest might be looking to earn themselves something here off a potential delayed invade. Hanging out here in this brush, but the ward nearby for Gen.G is already set.
I wonder if FlyQuest was expecting the lane swap to come through, or if their plan is to initiate the lane swap themselves, because they tracked Lehends and Peyz moving towards the top side of the map, and now with this delayed invade, they're looking to try and find a punish onto Canyon, but they're not going to find it.
No, they're actually playing around vision so intelligently. They're going to start topside, and there's no vision on this from Gen.G. Now Canyon's going to get the news here, and Bwipo's going to try to push him off while we have their jungler actually trying to take their blue buff. Canyon, though, should be able to finish this and then just move across.
Yeah.
Bwipo got 1 CS from that. He did get the 1 little wolf, so a little bit of disruption there. But obviously the hand is now tipped by FlyQuest, and it's up to Gen.G to show how they want to respond.
Busio hovering around the mid lane to quickly get to that level 2. Meanwhile, on the top side of the map, Bwipo is going to join his AD carry. So this is a very traditional approach to the lane swap, making sure that Bwipo can get that level 2, ready for the TP bot, with the idea being that Busio getting level 2 as well can then rotate towards the bot side of the map and then cover for a potential dive. Only level 2 secured for Inspired. The pings are coming through. Busio begins his rotation to bot lane.
And you could notice there that even though Massu was missing a little bit of CS, he's moving forward to deny experience from Kiin. They didn't want Kiin to get any experience on those extra minions to be able to get level 2 before the wave would crash, to be able to threaten a potential dive. But of course, as you say, Vedi, Busio is moving down towards bot, and Bwipo could look to join if they feel that they can hold at the tower.
Now, Bwipo wants to stay top for as long as possible to get as much XP as possible, because the closer he is to 3, once he TP's in, that means that the fewer minions need to dive in to take over, and he'll be able to get that level up. Kiin still being starved of a lot of farm. He wants to go and catch that top wave. And the TP has now been committed bot lane. Bwipo gonna tick over to level 3. Skarner's not in a position to dive. And this is a thing where I think FlyQuest were able to catch Gen.G off guard, because typically Canyon would do a full clear on the bot side, move into the enemy side jungle, and then set up for the dive on the bot side of the map, with potentially Kiin there joining in the exchange. However, Canyon gets interrupted on his wolves. That's where he started, which means that the whole invade onto the bot side is delayed, meaning that Bwipo can now move to his bot side of the map completely uncontested and secure that whole way.
And I agree completely, and so much of that advantage was gained by the vision play, right? By the avoidance of those Gen.G wards, by the fact that FlyQuest was stacked in the brush, they see where the ward is, they wrap around into the enemy blue. It's just a really smart early game play, and it has netted them a 300 gold advantage, 200 gold now, but it's not massive, it is significant.
Point is, though, I think that you have to remember that in my opinion, FlyQuest haven't had the best early game so far in the tournament. It's an area where they've been punished a lot, especially in the series versus HLE. It was an area of massive problems for them.
And even against TL.
They always came back in the mid to late game team fights. You guys have been casting this team all year long. You've seen these opportunities, the way in which they've been able to do that. And FlyQuest, you're kind of avoiding some of that portion of the early laning phase, finding a very small advantage in terms of how they've executed the lane swap, alleviates a bit of that burden. And quite frankly, I do like the scaling of their composition. The amount of protection and peel they do have for their damage dealers. If I had a question of, will FlyQuest have enough damage? You can throw the other question of, can they get through a Galio and a Seraphine and an Alistar ultimate on the side of Gen.G?
And I think part of the hope is that if you're diving in onto Massu, onto Quad, that Inspired is making that very difficult for you, that he's going to be power farming, he's going to get to a strong point in the game where he can threaten these members of Gen.G as they try to bypass him and attack these carries. So we'll have to see as the wave has been stacked, and it is Bwipo here being covered by Inspired.
Okay,
Canyon's
2 versus
coming
3
as well.
defense right now. Canyon making his way down.
He's going to go back. They're going to call off the dive.
FlyQuest avoided.
Crucially, though, while Bwipo is completely fine here, they've also already got their bot lane on the top side of the map with Grub spawning in a minute's time. Normally it's on this wave that you would consider pushing out and then basing, ready for the swap. So anticipate that as the TP comes through from Kiin, means that he's not going to be sticking around on the bot side of the map. And experience is the biggest thing here. Even after catching this wave, Bwipo is still going to have about a half a level XP lead over that of Kiin.
Exactly, and Bwipo here, you know, we'll see if he wants to actually reset and look towards those grubs, but for now it looks like he's just going to continue the push here. And I think FlyQuest, even if they have to give up the grubs, they're going to be pretty happy about how this early game has gone. They've created a nice little advantage in jungle as well as top. You know, mid and bot, all very, very even. There hasn't really been any disruption to the plan. And I do think FlyQuest's strength, you know, has been about understanding their comps, understanding the strengths of the comps, and how to play towards those win conditions. If they feel that they outscale you, they're not going to fight you early. They're just going to sit back and give up small things to try to really wait for their moment.
And I guess the question now that I'm wondering then is, when will that moment be? With the grub spawning here in a couple of seconds, it could just be that handshake trade on neutral objectives early that we see a lot of the times. FlyQuest could opt to go for the Drake, but it does look like they're at least putting a couple bodies in the area. Gen.G first to the grub pit. Canyon will smite grub number 1 to at least guarantee that Gen.G will get that one, but now Inspired making his way over, and it looks like FlyQuest will maintain control over the topside river. Gen.G are happy to just take the single grub and back away, so FlyQuest will come out on top in this one.
Now to viewers, it may seem confusing as to why Gen.G's just backing off of that. They were first in the objective, they had Kiin pushing in the top lane, but you got to remember, Ashe, this early on, contrast to the Jinx, like, FlyQuest have that advantage. So in the isolated 4v4, there are ways in which FlyQuest can actually win out on that skirmish, especially with a Zhao there. Yep. So Gen.G wisely said, we'll take the single grub, we'll play for the next set of grubs, and we'll concede these for now.
Exactly, and Chovy's down on bot. You know, FlyQuest know he has no TP. They know there's no TP as well from Kiin. He was showing up on that top lane, so it is going to be a 3v3 skirmish, and that would have been difficult for Gen.G. So things going well for FlyQuest, but of course, Gen.G always so dominant in these 5v5s. They are masters of execution when it comes time for these team fights, and that really is the terror, because you can see how the FlyQuest composition is supposed to work. You absorb the engage, you stifle the engage, and then you turn around the fight. But Gen.G is so hard to do that against. If they find that picture-perfect engage, get back onto the carries, Equalizer comes in, Chovy is there, everyone is piling in, and you burst down that Ashe, all of a sudden, you have all these pieces that are there to protect something that no longer exists, and the whole thing falls apart.
And it feels like it'll fall apart that much swifter with Jinx in the game. If one of these dominoes on FlyQuest falls over, you trust Peyz to have the mechanics, to have the hands, to immediately pilot that into multiple kills, into enough damage to FlyQuest to take objectives afterwards. I feel like with the game going this slowly early on here, still 0 kills for either side, 8 minutes into the game, not even a fight over that first set of grubs. Once we do get a fight, that first fight is going to determine a lot about the pacing from there.
One of the things I wanted to track of coming into this game that I discussed with you both is, how does FlyQuest manage the early game? And 8 minutes in, they've done a great job. Gen.G was a team that I anticipated would come in right at the gate swinging.
We have a 600 gold lead.
I mean,
on the game too.
I really did think that Gen.G would just dominate here in the early game, but so far it's been a very slow early game. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean a huge deal for either side. Right now, they're both in a very comfortable spot. FlyQuest have brought their bot lane down, and because of that Ashe, they have Prio, along with the Zhao. FlyQuest are wisely leveraging the strength that they do have with their AD carry and jungle to play for these early objectives. And that's what you love to see. That's what you want to be seeing from this FlyQuest, playing with confidence, playing with the nameplates off, and treating Gen.G like any other team.
Okay, also worth noting, Busio now hitting level 6 on the Alistar, as Lehends only just hit level 5 on the Leona. So if we do have a fight sometime soon, if the supports are involved, will be a definitive advantage there for FlyQuest if they can make sure they got the right guys at the scrap.
And it is really interesting, you know, because coming into yesterday's quarterfinals, what I was really expecting it to be an absolute brawl, you know, non-stop fighting. I was thinking the pace was going to be very, very high. And this is kind of becoming similar to what that actually ended up being, which is, in reality, a very slow game that raises the importance of that first team fight more and more and more. The longer you get into the game without there being that major team fight, the bigger the rewards are for when you finally win it. If you haven't fought and it's 20+ minutes into the game and you get aced, all of a sudden you lose Baron off the first team fight and the game's just over. So it puts so much pressure on players to really nail it in that moment. If you're skirmishing back and forth nonstop the whole game, you mess up once here, once there, you can maybe make up for that later on. But if your first fight isn't going to be till 3rd Dragon, sometimes you only get one shot.
Ultimately, like, again, a good move from FlyQuest. Massu moves up towards the top side of the map, ready for that second grubs contest. No first items have been completed yet. Gen.G, though, in position to try and contest. That level you talked about earlier, Flowers, still no level 6 for Lehends. This should be a big warning signal. He's going to move over to mid to try and catch this wave. This, in theory, is enough XP to help him get that level up. As Chovy takes a bit of a trade against Bwipo.
And you can hear the Paris crowd here, you know, erupting into the Let's Go FlyQuest chants and getting behind this final Western team here.
I mean,
obviously,
you
a couple of European players.
Former Fnatic player in Bwipo, former Rogue player and Inspired. There's still a lot of hometown heroes.
You've got a European topside.
Yeah.
North America claims the rest.
For sure, for sure. And the grubs are alive. Let's see the execution. Quad gets the push in mid. Lehends now ticks over to level 6. Both supports just trading for the healing. I've forgotten the words of them now.
Honey fruits.
That's what I'm looking for. Thank you, Flowers. And here we go.
Okay, FlyQuest are first into the pit, but Gen.G is ready to respond. Kiin over the wall, ready to drop the equalizer if need be.
TP mid.
Canyon ready to start taking aggro here a little bit as the equalizer comes down. Inspired, already gonna lose half HP. Chovy jumps in, not gonna find the charm. Immediately engaged, coming up from Busio. First blood of the FlyQuest, and Chovy is down. Seraphine ulti roars over the top, and Gen.G has lost 2 men. FlyQuest just killed 3 of them, and they're gonna hit 4 grubs too.
FlyQuest wipe Gen.G off the map, crush the first team fight. They get the 4th grubs, and they didn't even need Bwipo. He was pushing mid to actually get the tower damage down, and FlyQuest opened up a massive Game 1 lead.
The target selection was phenomenal. Keep your eyes on Chovy. The TP comes through, but there's that mid lane ward. The mid lane ward spots out Chovy. They turn their attention onto him as he tries to come in for the flank. The Ashe arrow will connect. Busio with the initial knockup. The chain CC to follow, and the damage from Inspired as Bwipo tanks up 3. Flawless execution as they turn on to the rest of Gen.G. Canyon isn't in range to really contribute to the fight, and that is 4 grubs for FlyQuest.
And just look at this. I mean, Bwipo arrives, taunts 2 people, and just walks straight mid to push in the wave because he knew the team fight had already been won. And look at the FlyQuest staff there. They are popping off.
FlyQuest passed the hands check. Chovy jumps in, Massu sidestepping away from the charm. The rest of the team immediately ready to layer CC onto a target like Ahri that's normally very slippery, very mobile in a team fight.
And it's exciting for me to see Busio step up in that moment, lands the flash combo onto Chovy, because the story about Busio for so long in spring finals and going into MSI was, yes, he's good, but in the big moments, he falters. He struggles with nerves. He's not going to be able to play the way that you expect him to. And coming into the summer finals, that was kind of the story as well, but he was able to move past that to showcase that he can play well on those big stages. He wins there. He's been performing solid here at Worlds as well. And so far in game number 1, he steps up in a big moment for them at the Grubs.
What I love about how FlyQuest are playing is, as I mentioned earlier, they're playing with the nameplates off. Right, they're not showcasing this sense of respect. They just do. I mean, they are obviously right.
Not too much respect.
Yeah,
it's just an Ahri.
Exactly. What I mean by that is that they're playing to the strengths of their composition. Every decision that they've made makes sense. They know that Zhao is stronger than that of the Skarner in the early game. They know they win the early skirmishes, and with an Ashe to help support that, they've moved the Ashe around to gain early control over the Grubs and the Dragon. An ulti will come through in the mid.
Quad's in a little bit of trouble here as Lehends jumps in. Canyon over the wall wants to try to join up, but it ain't gonna matter. Lehends is already down, and a beautiful move from Inspired, using the ulti to knock the enemy Skarner back. Now Bwipo's ready to make a grand entrance, and he's grabbing a 5th kill of the game for FlyQuest. Gen.G thought they might have had something, and FlyQuest check him at the door.
A haphazard force from Gen.G means that FlyQuest get themselves another 2 kills. Lehends tries to force an all-in. Canyon is very slow on the follow-up. Chovy isn't really there, and Gen.G concede another 2.
Betty, you're talking about FlyQuest, not playing with too much respect. I think it's Lehends not playing with enough respect. Bro maybe has the nameplates on, thinks it's going to be an easy game, and he is over-forcing mid lane there. Misses the ulti on Quad as it was sidestep, still trying to force, ends up getting punished, and what a nice follow-up from Inspired. He dashes past Canyon, not marking him, to use the ulti to knock him backwards, forcing out the flash. We can watch it one more time as Lehends, Hex flashing over the wall, looks for the ulti, but Inspired is right there behind him. Now you see Inspired. Why are we still going forward? We can see that Jinx is coming in, Canyon's over the wall, but he's locked up under the tower, and then watch this from Inspired, knocks him back, and then is able to follow up and get this 2nd kill.
I just think it's bizarre. You're going in with a Leona and a Skarner against a Seraphine under turret. I don't even think there's enough damage to force anything. Maybe they're just hoping that Quad is going to panic, waste a summoner spell for no reason. But FlyQuest showing cool heads, responding to Gen.G, who are just playing abnormally over the top.
And crucially, the gold is where you want it. A 1.2k gold lead in favor of Inspired. He's going to be one of the big damage dealers. He's also going to be your initiator. On the front line, this man is the one that's going to start everything off as the remaining dominoes fall into place. FlyQuest find themselves with a 2k gold lead, a strong early game lead over Gen.G.
And people talk a lot about, Locket as a strong answer into Rumble. You know what's a really strong answer? The empowered Seraphine W. That shield gets massive as you get more AP moving further and further into the game. It can really neutralize a lot of that AoE damage that's coming through from the other side. So I do think if Gen.G are not careful in these next couple fights, they are in a real danger of losing this first game.
Speaking of massive power, we also have the Seraph's Embrace now fully evolved as of a couple seconds ago. Quad going for that first rush. All of the extra mana means you're constantly going to be a support battery with all of that shielding, all of that healing. Also, the fact that you now have the own personal shield to help you survive if they want to try to focus you. Big power spike coming in there for Quad. But the one thing that I want everybody to keep their eyes on, as he just ticks level 11, you can see it on the screen, is Peyz's Jinx. He hasn't really been a part of anything yet. The Gen.G game plan, you're drafting this hyper-scaler, hyper-carry in the AD position on a guy who can absolutely carry the game, and they're just letting him warm up.
I love how you're still tepid. You don't want to get too excited, Flowers.
It's Gen.G! But they're 46-3 this year in series, Betty!
If you turn the nameplates off, they're struggling right now.
Well, Busio's coming in for the wraparound. They want to go after Chovy. They don't find what they're looking for, and FlyQuest might have got a little over-eager. The tier 1 turret still standing as Kiin drops the equalizer. Busio's going to be careful of Massu's about to die. He flashes away as Kiin wants to chase him down. FlyQuest on the retreat. They nearly toss it away, but Gen.G won't get a kill. Rift Herald still on the map, 17 minutes into the game, and Gen.G is going to head over.
So the priorities there, I think FlyQuest overforced on the mid lane tower. Gen.G responded very well, reading the play from FlyQuest and responding with 5, leveraging the strength of the tower and the mobility of Chovy to find a re-engage, and even if they don't get any kills, they secure themselves the Rift Herald, which is crucial to help them unlock this mid tower.
And critically, Kiin is able to trade his flash for the cleanse and the flash of Massu. So Massu is in so much danger now in this next potential fight. FlyQuest do get the mid lane tier 1, so the trade right now I think is totally fine for them. My big concern is, can they actually fight for the next dragon? Because you would love to go for Mountain Soul, and FlyQuest are in a great spot right now, but if you show up this next dragon in 130 with no summoners on Massu, he is so vulnerable, and I think there's a real opportunity that Gen.G just wiped that fight.
So I'm going back to what I was saying at the end of the draft, the start of the game. You've got this cannon. You've got Massu on the Ashe. He's stepped up plenty of times for FlyQuest so far this year, and he is rounded out by a pretty incredible cast of supporting characters in an Alistar, in a Galio, in a Seraphine. If he doesn't have his own, oh man, I'm in trouble buttons, everybody else better be using theirs. Because if he falls and Peyz gets excited, that's an easy ace for Gen.G.
There's a bit of a waste of time there from Bwipo. He started pathing up towards top, then actually started making his way to move down towards mid. Perhaps he wanted to help guarantee that mid prior, which, because FlyQuest secured that tower earlier, is going to be easier to secure. He's a little late to the wave on top, allowing Chovy to get that initial push out, which means that he can rotate down first. Both have their TP available with 40 seconds on the Dragon. They want Quad to go and push out bot wave, and the vision denial begins from FlyQuest.
Exactly, and it's showing that FlyQuest do want to try to fight for this Dragon. They know if they get Mountain Soul, it's going to be so hard for a composition like Gen.G. But Massu, as you say, Massu has no cleanse, no flash. Inspired is playing by him, but if they get in onto him, even all the peeling that FlyQuest has available may not be enough. So they have to be really careful about his positioning.
Peyz, though, wisely showing respect on the mid wave. The Ashe arrow, the Seraphine ulti. There are a lot of tools to catch Peyz out, even with his cleanse. So he can't really afford to step up on the wave without the rest of his team, who are now arriving. Observers showcase the amount of darkness that Gen.G see. Lehends going to be the one to face check.
Yeah, the Leona walks forward. Busio jumps over the wall with a combo as FlyQuest looks to put some DPS into Leona, but it ain't going to be enough. A lot of damage back into Inspired. Crescent sweep to barely stay alive. Oh, and Lehends is down. Bwipo over the wall goes in for a massive multi-taunt, and Kiin's thrown up into the air. Inspired escapes the death rocket, but now they're dragging FlyQuest back. Bwipo's first to die as Peyz continues firing, and Chovy wants another. Canyon steers back away as FlyQuest get a 2-for-1.
That is huge for FlyQuest. They're already onto the Dragon. They're going to move to Soul Point here. Inspired barely survived, flashing out of the way of Peyz ulti. That surely would have finished him off. The fact that he doesn't go down, the fact that Bwipo gets into the backline puts so much pressure onto Gen.G, and now it's Peyz with no summoners here. It's FlyQuest moving to Soul Point, and it's FlyQuest really showing their class against the world's best.
It's a high-risk gambit to commit onto the Leona, given how durable she is. With the support item, with her W, it's a dangerous play to make, but they commit. They know that it's smart because they have the numbers advantage in this moment. The TP comes in quickly, and at the very last second, the ulti comes out from Inspired, keeping him alive. A nice flash from Bwipo onto the backline sets up for the chase down.
Exactly, Bwipo gets in the backline, they force out those summoners, and look at the flash from Inspired, dodging out from that ulti from Peyz, or it would have been an early reset. Great ulti from Canyon, though, pulling multiple members in, allows them to get a kill back here. Bwipo feeling it. And when he is having fun, when he is in this kind of mood, that's when he's playing his best.
Bwipo's eyebrows tell the tale of FlyQuest's morale, and it feels like they know what they're doing so far in this first 21 minutes of gameplay in this best of 5. 7-1, 3 Drakes to nothing, 4 Grubs to 2, 2 turrets to nothing. All of the numbers favor FlyQuest at this point in time, but it's still Gen.G. It is still a team that is absolutely capable of fighting back from a deficit, of finding the right fight, of picking the right moment. And you can see Peyz closing in on his second item here. Chovy just now purchasing the Leandri's Torment for his second item alongside the Malignants. Lots of damage over time there as that Ahri darts around the fights.
Regardless of the outcome of this game, I think that North America should be incredibly happy with what you're seeing on the screen right now. The fact that the expectations around this series was going to be a quick 3-0, another Sunday for Gen.G, and this is the performance of FlyQuest. They are delivering as they play for the top tower, an uncontested tower, nicely set up, and this is the thing. Discipline is being demonstrated by FlyQuest, and that is what you need against a team like Gen.G.
And look at all the vision control they're actually setting up around this top side. They're making it very difficult here for Gen.G as they have this line of pink wards, you know, pink ward there, pink ward there, pink ward behind them as well. They're trying to constantly be able to threaten if there's an overcommitment towards the Dragon. Hey, we could actually trade for a bear, and we're in a position where you get very little for one Dragon, and we could win out big. So FlyQuest playing so well towards their composition, but Gen.G always has the ability to make magic happen in a team fight, to really flip the game on its head in a matter of a second or two.
Honestly, I feel like that this is more FlyQuest to lose than it is necessarily Gen.G's to win, and you're completely right. There's always the possibility of Gen.G finding those windows, finding that angle, but I feel like the FlyQuest, with the composition they have all the tools they need. It ultimately comes down to this Baron, and in my opinion, the Swiss stage Barons from FlyQuest was one of their best assets.
Oh, don't you be putting that juju on us.
Okay, so the big thing I'm looking at right now, we have 2 minutes until what will be Mountain Soul, if FlyQuest takes it, spawns. You've got the carries on both sides on 2-item power spikes, but in the jungle and in the top lane, there are differences. Riftmaker is done for Bwipo. Inspired has completed Steric's Gauge, but their counterparts on Gen.G are still working towards those second completions. If Gen.G can find them in time for this fight, they're going to feel much more confident about trying to stop FlyQuest here for the Soul.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of the goal here for Gen.G has just been making sure that Peyz still has farm, you know, funneling as much as they possibly can into him. He's up to 246 farm. We're only 23.5 minutes into the game. They are getting the Jinx to a strong point. You know, he does have the IE. He has the Kraken. He's trying to get more, and they know they need to be as strong as they possibly can, as you said, before this fight, because if FlyQuest gets Soul, that's very likely the game for Gen.G.
TP coming in here for FlyQuest side. Let's see if they really want to make a move.
Bwipo's behind them. Bwipo's behind them.
Using the charm, trying to stuff the engage here. Peyz wants to get away. Seraphine ulti flying over the top. Bwipo's trying his way into Peyz, but the Jinx barely gets away. FlyQuest continuing forward, but a nice equalizer from Kiin tries to stop him. Canyon shot to pieces, and Bwipo wants more. FlyQuest with a 1-for-0, but that one is the enemy jungler.
A phenomenal flank from Bwipo, almost sets up the kill onto Peyz, but it wasn't quite enough damage. But the damage might be enough as Canyon falls. The Baron is on the cards, and FlyQuest are turning their attention towards it.
Exactly. They don't get Peyz, but they do get Canyon. 20 seconds now with no jungler here. Chovy in the area, but I don't think they have the tools to contest. There's no equalizer. They're coming anyway.
The only ulti left on Gen.G is Peyz with the Super Mega Death Rocket. There is no Spirit Rush. There is no equalizer. Bwipo looking to wrap around Gen.G as they come to try to challenge for the Baron. Kiin on the back side of the wall, but immediately Busio's going in to try to stop him. FlyQuest making their move. Bwipo's into the back line. They found Peyz, but there's no follow-up. Busio's already dead, and Bwipo goes to rejoin the rest of the team. FlyQuest will claim the Baron, but they have to trade Busio for it. So Gen.G will now get the tier 1 turret mid and stop the Soul as a response.
Busio will pay the ultimate price, but it is a price worth paying. The Baron secured. FlyQuest, they will concede the Dragon, but it doesn't matter. That is bounties that Gen.G have to claim against FlyQuest, who are dominating in this first game.
They are, but that's 2 bounties that they're going to be able to actually pick up here. And the question is, how much can FlyQuest get with this Baron? Because there is a cost to the sacrifice you've made here. You gave away Soul, but they're going to go for a long chase potentially. You can see Inspired is trying to wrap around Chovy.
Inspired has Massu with him here as well. Canyon securing the red buff as Inspired and Massu are trying to cut off the Gen.G mid. Chovy forced to use the Spirit Rush to get away, but it is enough to guarantee his safety as FlyQuest have all 5 men back on the map, 4 of them wearing Baron, but that Baron power play is already in negative gold. Lehends regrouping with Peyz back here in the mid lane as FlyQuest maintains control over the red side jungle of Gen.G.
Exactly. I'm not really sure that going for Baron there was the correct choice. You could have taken the guaranteed Soul that's there for the rest of the game, and instead they go for the Baron. If they don't get a ton with this, that's 3 bounties that were given over off of the lost fight because they had to sacrifice Busio. They need to push the pace. They need to get so much with this Baron, or it really wasn't worthwhile.
All right, FlyQuest forces down the tier 2 turret here in the bottom lane. That would be the first tier 2 turret they claim this game, but the trade for Gen.G has been all 3 tier 1s on the FlyQuest side. It's still about a total of negative 2,000 gold on that Baron take overall, since the objective itself gives you the plus 1,500. FlyQuest will see what else they can do. They've got 75 seconds left on the buff.
I mean, great observation, Azael. Like, the fact that FlyQuest, even with the Baron, end up with a negative Baron power play just goes to show the macro awareness of Gen.G. Sure, we ended up conceding that objective, but getting the bounties, unlocking all of the outer towers, there was a lot of standing gold ready for them to grab, and unfortunately FlyQuest weren't able to convert it into as much as they would have liked. Now the good news is, oh, hang on.
Now, Busio and Lehends getting into a little bit of a scrap. Bwipo's here to help. FlyQuest bringing in more assistance as Gen.G does not want to overcommit to a fight here. They know there's only 45 seconds left on the Baron.
Yeah, the good news is that FlyQuest still healthy gold lead and still have a bit of the Baron. Let's see if they can siege onto this tier 2.
All right, Gen.G in a defensive position. Busio over the wall as equalizer used by Kiin to try to clear out the wave, keep this turret standing. Only 25 seconds left on the Baron buff for FlyQuest, and Gen.G will hold the line at the tier 2 turret.
And at the end of the day, it ends up being really good for Gen.G. You know, this Baron power play did nothing for FlyQuest. It's very unfortunate for them. You know, had they gone for Dragon, you don't have to necessarily sacrifice Busio, and I don't think Gen.G gets so much tempo on the map. The objective bounty's doing so much work for Gen.G in this situation. It has really pulled them right back into the game, because now you're going to be at 3 items here on your major carries, very likely coming into this next Dragon fight, whereas FlyQuest could have just taken Soul pretty much for free, and I think set them up for almost a guaranteed win in the rest of the game.
I will say, though, that Gen.G have not shown us a single good team fight so far in this game, and I think that's because FlyQuest have always been the ones to initiate. They're the ones in the driver's seat when it comes to actually starting the play. Gen.G, if they can find purchase on this next Dragon, if they can be the ones to find that initiation, whether it be the Leona ultimate, Chovy finding a good flank, maybe a good Skarner ulti, that could be the turning point to swing the game back in Gen.G's favor.
And the spawn timers on these neutral objectives are pretty close. This always creates a very chaotic map state where the smallest of decisions can have the largest of impacts on the game. The Dragon will spawn, and just 30 seconds later, Baron will once again be live on the map.
I mean, we haven't talked about it much this game, but Chovy is continuing to Chovy. Yep. 296 CS at 29 minutes. He has a 1.1k goal lead over Quad, who's primarily been grouping with his team, while Chovy has been playing through the sidelines. Void Staff now secured for him means that in terms of itemization, the carries are pretty equal.
They absolutely are, right? It's just that topside advantage now for FlyQuest that is evened out somewhat by Chovy's edge. You know, Quad's job here is that kind of a very fed support almost. You know, you get to later stages of the game, you can do a lot of damage, but he needs to be with the carries. He needs to be protecting them. You can't really be sitting in the side lane and farming it up as a Seraphine. So now this Dragon becomes all important here for FlyQuest. We'll see if they can get a proper setup and claim the Mountain Soul, where Ahri then, where the Equalizer as well, struggles that much more with all the shielding plus the Mountain Soul.
The pressure is on with 45 seconds to go until the 5th Drake of the game spawns. FlyQuest wants to maintain control over this bot side river as Gen.G are grouping up in mid, trying to get the wave shoved out. And then they'll have to approach, as now over the wall, Chovy gonna get grabbed. The Seraphine ulti flies out, but Chovy's able to dodge away. Now Busio continuing to move forward as Canyon survives. No real sincere pressure on Gen.G. It's the Seraphine ulti of Quad. It's that arrow from Massu, but Chovy's ult is the price Gen.G has to pay for it.
He has to spend his flash as well, so now Chovy, no flash, no ulti. You know, it could be worth it for this next fight, though.
Bwipo going in, looking for a taunt, but he's not going to find it. Would have only been Canyon and Lehends anyway, the tanky members of the Gen.G squad. FlyQuest and Gen.G still staring each other down. Keep your eyes on Lehends. The Leona is the engage here for Gen.G as FlyQuest make their way into the bot side river. They're going to go ahead and start that Drake up. It's already down to half HP. Canyon's getting zoned out. Equalizer into the back line as Quad sidesteps away from the solar flare. Dragon's still the focus coming out from FlyQuest. The troll is secured. And now they're turning it right back on the Lehends and Canyon. The Leona tries to flash away, but it ain't going to work. Massu chases him down. Busio trying to keep going forward with Bwipo as they lock up the carries. They beat down Peyz and Gen.G falls. Chovy trying to hold the line, trying to buy time, but it costs a hell of a lot. And FlyQuest are barreling towards the base. A beautiful stop on the recall from Massu.
What a fight from FlyQuest. Heavy is the MSI crown, and Gen.G are crumbling under its weight.
Solo laners versus FlyQuest. Kiin and Chovy trying to hold on, but another Seraphine ulti flies out, and Chovy drops dead. Kiin pushes forward and finally claims Busio, but it's only a 1-for-1. Game number 1 is about to end as FlyQuest lead the series.
Doubters be damned, FlyQuest are here to play.
Wow, what a game. Desk, take it over.
Oh my God, I cannot believe it. Let's go. Let's go.
That was amazing. Them believe. Holy shit, I believe.
Oh my God, if you
incredible.
can see what transpired here as we were watching the game, specifically for chat, specifically for Kobe, right? I saw you already. You know, you were starting to hope. You were hoping a little more, and then they just do this.
There's a reason I put the Seraphine on the graphic even though they hadn't used it at Worlds yet. They used the enchanters to build a super strong team fight. Seraphine flex into mid, Galio into double AP, but really, How'd they win so many fights? They beat him at Grubs. They beat him in the mid lane over and over, Shocks.
I mean,